Ham, I knew Cap, I knew Milk and Nip.
Wow, great one.
Do you think Will was wanted to be in the publishing world that you were in with the
I don't think so.
books?
No, I think he had his own dream, and I don't think he was frustrated in any way whatsoever. I think he was a man who had dreams and accomplished them. I think
That's pretty good. And he really understood comics as art. Once I was having a little argument with him at a party, and my thesis was comics are not good for every form of storytelling. And I cited Hamlet's soliloquy as an example of something that comics wouldn't do well. 6 months later, I get Will Eisner's Hamlet's soliloquy done in body language. A kid on a rooftop. When I reread a lot of Will to write the intro to Chris's book, I realized that he was better than anybody at capturing that moment that is most expressive physically. If you took the set of the most perfect photographs in the world, that's what he did as a cartoonist, always allied to storytelling.
Did you, were you any teachers at SVA at the same period?
No, I was 5 years after him, maybe. SVA is School of Visual Arts.
Is anyone here who had been a student of Will's? That's what I was really hoping to get for the panel. But the people I knew were students of Will's. But he influenced a lot of people who are decision makers in comics.
Frank Miller.
Over the years. Yeah. Well, Frank Miller. Yeah. He and Frank.
Carlin was one of the
Carlin
students.
And Joey. Joey.
Oh, I didn't know much. That was another thing he really seemed to want to do, was to teach.
Yeah,
he enjoyed that.
His students also include Joe Quesada, who I think does something over at Marvel now. And then there's a guy that draws a comic strip about like little animals called Mutz. Patrick O'Donnell is also one of his students. So and
Flash.
Flash. And a guy named John Holmstrom, who actually played quite a role in the punk movement.
Right.
The editor of Punk
That's
Magazine
right.
and cartoonist was one of Will's students.
He
Very
got
devoted.
Eisner's desk.
What?
He got Eisner's desk.
Did he really? That's so sweet. Oh, God.
Can we steal it from him?
After,
It'll
we
be sent to
hope to have him move it
to the museum. That's right. Should be. Oh, you can take any desk. This was Will's desk.
Is there a comic art museum?
Why?
Why, it's the Museum
of
of
Comic and Cartoon Art. They had an
several.
exhibit on Will's work, what, about 5 years ago?
Yeah.
That's
he,
right,
he
yeah.
was supposed to be at the Alternate, unfortunately.
I remember that.
That's still on Broadway?
It's 594 Broadway between Houston and Prince, room 401. There's a Watchmen exhibit co-curated by Peter Sanderson, currently there.
Open to us today.
If you must know.
Watchmen, I've heard of that. Just to sort of backtracking a little. Will did The Spirit, started it in 40, then he went into the Army in 42?
No, it was after the Army, as far as I recall.
No, he started it before he went into the Army, and then
did he do it at all when he was in the Army, or was it all
he
posted?
wrote a few stories, but it was mostly Manly Wade Wellman and Lou Fine who ran with the Spirit during World War II. It's the non-Eisner Spirit mostly.
And then when he came back, it was quite different.
Yes, the post-war Spirit is the great Spirit that everyone remembers.
Yeah. Well, there were some people, I think, did Pfeiffer say that he preferred the pre-war Spirit? I think Pfeiffer put in, some people who Chris, how would you
they
describe
both
the
have their
difference between
virtues.
the pre and post-war?
Okay, actually, but the post-war Spirit is really the magnificent one. Okay, it really is.
No,
The art is much more experimental. The storytelling is much more, kind of what Eisner really wanted to do.
It's got more humor in it.
Yeah. The ones before World War II are a lot of fun, and sometimes they're quite surreal. But the real, American surrealism and Talmudic fables and, Poe and Bierce influenced stories are in the post-war Spirit. It's really the golden years of it.
And no flying cars, or not as many of them that bow to convention.
Exactly, yeah.
Ken, do you remember, was there like a specific thing, did he ever talk about changing it after the war, or having a different attitude towards it, what he was trying to accomplish?
No, really, I never had that kind of
How many of the post-war spirits were, did Pfeiffer write most of them, or?
No. Will wrote them all for the first couple of years practically, and then Pfeiffer came along and helped him, especially as his interest got less and less in the spirit. By the last couple of years, he wasn't even paying any attention to it. He and Pfeiffer did a lot of stories together, but especially the first 2-3 years after the war, it's really Eisner.
Isn't there a famous story where Pfeiffer murders Eisner in the story?
Yep.
Which one of them wrote Gerhardt's novel?
Oh, Will. Yeah, that's totally Will.
So then Will does the spirit, and I guess it was in papers by 52?
Actually, what he usually says is, one, newsprint became much more expensive, and therefore the profit margin on it was too narrow. So neither he nor the newspapers could make money on it. And two, there was this psychiatrist named Wortham, I think.
Frederick Wortham.
Yeah, I'm joking.
Freddie.
We all know Frederick Wortham quite well. I teach his fine influence on comics almost every semester.
Was he active by 52 or just?
Yeah. He was publishing articles. There's the Judith Christ article where she was a mouthpiece for
I
him.
interviewed her recently.
Oh, really?
Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, she lives in my building.
What? Oh my God! I didn't know she was still alive.
She's alive and kicking.
She's
everywhere.
still reviewing movies?
I think she still does her
She writes
yearly.
occasional pieces.
She does her yearly.
Oh wow!
Weekends, I think.
Oh, I have to get one of the magazines with her article in it and get her to sign it. Well, that article was really important in destroying what we all love.
Yeah, although I think for her it was just more of an assignment. I don't think
Yeah,
it was
sure,
like
yeah.
a big.
She was
she
parroting
a beginning
Wortham.
writer.
Yeah.
And but she did write more than one article. But so it was something that was of interest somehow to her.
Who is it? The guy David Hadju's book?
Haydu.
Haydu?
Yeah, it's called 10 Cent Plague. I highly recommend it.
It's a great book,
really.
and it really covers the decline and fall of comic books thanks to witch hunting.
Yeah.
And it turned out he was very friendly with Will.
Yes, he wrote an article about Will, which hasn't yet been published,
Right.
and he interviewed him for that book, and
did a great interview with him for the Comics Journal.
oh, he did. I didn't read that.
Yeah, it's in the article that came out, the issue that came out after Will died with a young picture of him on the cover.
Well, I recommend David Haydu's book, and I'm not prejudiced by the fact that he's a professor at Columbia. No, I am prejudiced by that fact. It's a great book.
Is he really?
Oh yeah, in the journalism school at Columbia.
I got a very nice note from him recently.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure he's a fanboy. I'm sure he just thinks the world of you. I mean,
He said, well,
I know what he said. I love your work so much. It's so important to me. We all feel that way.
That's right. We're here for the Denny O'Neil. This is your life. Every woman you ever dated is here, Denny.
why did you all reject me?
Every editor that you ever wrote for is here.
Well, not Julia Schwartz.
Well, as a matter of fact.
Denny, have you ever wrote a spirit story or want to?
Yeah, I've written a couple of them. I almost never envy other writers getting assignments. It's not a competitive thing with me. But when Uslan gave Miller the assignment to write The Spirit, I envied Frank and thought he would, not resentfully,
Right.
but that was one that I would have loved to have done. But
I would have preferred that too.
But years ago, somebody did a tribute to Eisner, and I wrote a story, as a matter of fact, that Frank illustrated. And then, I guess last summer, Scott Peterson, who's an editor at Wildstorm, asked if I wanted to do a 6-page short story for the Christmas issue. And again, it's like you're walking in the footsteps of giants. On the other hand, I love the work so much there was no way to refuse that job.
Who's the artist on that?